Hello and welcome to Legal Thinking with me, Liam Pape.
And me, Ed Wootton.
I'm sure if you've been on the internet over the last few weeks, you'll have seen people using the new AI chatbot called ChatGPT, which has been kind of doing everything really, from writing jokes and poetry to even writing code for people.
Or passing the MBA exam of a certain American university, I see.
Yeah, at the time of recording, so we're recording this in very early February, there was a piece in the newspaper this morning about how a very prestigious public school in England has stopped giving their students homework because they know that they can just use ChatGPT to put the prompts in there and get something that they can hand in and it be suffice. So, in line with that, we thought that instead of speaking to a lawyer for today's episode of Legal Thinking, that we'd instead put the questions that we have into ChatGPT and see what it spits out. So, I asked it to write a podcast script on the legal implications of AI, written with specific reference to protecting artists' rights and also with a reference to potential plagiarism. And this will be a discussion between two people, Liam and Ed.
So cutting out the middleman, going straight to the source is what we're doing.
Absolutely. Right. Let's see what it says.
So yeah, we should clarify, I guess, everything from here on is generated by an AI, and never take advice from our podcast at all, but especially not in this case.
Welcome to the AI Rights Podcast, where we explore the legal implications of AI-generated content. I'm your host, Liam.
And I'm Ed, your co-host.
Today we will be discussing the issue of protecting artists' rights in relation to AI-generated content, as well as the potential for plagiarism. Segment 1. Protecting artists' rights. One of the biggest concerns with AI-generated content is how it affects the rights of the artist. If a machine is creating something, who owns the rights to that content?
That's a great question, Liam. Under current copyright law, the creator of a work is typically considered the owner of the rights, but when it comes to AI-generated content, it's not always clear who that creator is. Exactly.
Some argue that AI itself should be considered the creator, whilst others say that the person who programmed the AI should be considered the creator.
And there's also the question of whether or not the AI should be granted the same rights as human creators. For example, should AI be able to sue for infringement of its rights?
That's a fascinating question, and one that lawmakers are still grappling with. But it's important to note that AI-generated content is not currently treated the same way as human-generated content under copyright law. Segment 2. Plagiarism. Another concern with AI-generated content is the potential for plagiarism. If a machine is creating something, is it possible for it to plagiarize someone else's work?
It is possible, Liam. One of the ways that plagiarism can occur with AI-generated content is when the AI is trained on a dataset of existing content. If the AI uses that content in its own creations without proper attribution, that could be considered plagiarism.
That is a very good point, Ed. And it's important to note that just because something is created by a machine, that doesn't mean it's automatically considered original.
Absolutely. It's important to always check for plagiarism, regardless of who or what is creating the content.
Conclusion. So there you have it, the legal implications of AI-generated content with a focus on protecting artists' rights and the potential for plagiarism. Thanks for joining us on the AI Rights Podcast.
And join us next time as we continue to explore the legal implications of AI-generated content and how it affects the future of copyright law.
And that is where the ChatGPT script ends. I think it's worth adding as well that they renamed the podcast AI Rights, but for the benefit of the listener, they've spelt rights like WRITES, which I think is actually really clever. The AI's done a pun there.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, the rest was total rubbish, but that's, pretty clever.
Yeah,
nice comedy.
It's not too shabby at all. The thing that I'd kind of compare it to is really poor improv, where you've told it to do a scene around AI-generated content. So what it's kind of done is just crowbarred the words AI-generated content in as many times as possible, to the point where it felt really quite unnatural reading it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of any oral exam I did back at school. So, you know, just kind of rambling rubbish where I mentioned the key themes as much as possible. But anyway.
Anyway, listener, because that was a load of old baloney, next week we will actually be joined by a lawyer and an expert or two in this field of AI-generated content. We'll be joined by Carl Selby, who is a partner and who specialises in technology at RWK Goodman, to discuss AI-generated content and the legal implications. So join us next week for that.
See you then.